Today's podcast is from the archives with Coach Luce, who is the linebackers coach at Army. He also has started a foundation, Lawrence First and Goal, which provides financial support for brain tumor research. Lawrence First and Goal has raised more than $2 million towards its mission and holds a one-day football camp with over 1,500 participants and over 300 college coaches from around the country. Unfortunately, that was canceled this past year due to COVID, and we hope Coach is able to get that going in 2021. Coach Luce talks about defending the option, adjustments to stop the pass, what he looks for in a player, defending the RPO, and his favorite RPO from the offensive perspective. To be joined today by Army safeties coach John Luce. Coach Luce, it's great to have you here on the podcast.
Hey, thanks for inviting me. I'm excited to do it.
Coach, there's a lot we have to talk about here. Certainly want to get into what you've done with Lawrence First and Goal, and I think a lot of people around the country know you because of that. But I also would like to share your journey through the profession and how all those things got started. So going back to the beginning for you, what was it, Coach, that really spurred you on to get into this profession?
You know what? I think I'm one of the few guys that I think early on absolutely loved football. And I was talking to my cousin one time, and he said, I always knew you wanted to do that. So, and I hadn't seen my cousin a bunch growing up. We were pretty far apart, but I think I knew at a very early age I wanted to coach football. I don't know if I think I knew I wanted to coach college or pro. I really do. And I've been very fortunate because I played very little in college, really played for a year, and then became a track guy when I wasn't good enough. And just Coach Ford at Albany State, legendary Bob Ford at Albany State in New York, gave me an interview and gave me a chance. And now I think this has been coaching for 30 years, so this is my 31st, I believe. And,
in a journey to the Division I level, that's not always an easy thing. And you had some stops along the way and some great influences along the way. For you, what were some of those key things you learned or some of those key influences you've had that have helped you get to this point?
You know what? I think, I had great parents that pushed me and supported me and all those kind of things. And, I had some good high school football coaches. And, Coach Ford, I think, and a lot of us, but I think Coach Ford taught you how to be a football coach from an effort standpoint and not wasting your time with a lot of things that aren't helping you win football games and organization and all those kind of things. I think that's where I learned from him. So I was there for 2 years at Albany State, and then I went on to be the defensive coordinator at a very young age at United States Coast Guard Academy under Tom Bell, and knew very little football. And Tom Bell taught me a lot of football. He really did. I learned a lot of football from him, did that for 3 years. And then I was hired as an assistant with Bob Sutton at Army West Point. So that's the first time I came here. And we had a great staff. We had, I think we had 6 Super Bowl rings came out of our defensive staff, since, we weren't all fired at the same time. Well, when we were fired here at Army West Point. So 6 guys had literally 6 Super Bowls came out of the defensive staff room. So, learned a lot of football. I think that's where I learned the majority from a football standpoint. And I think, when you come here to Army West Point, you learn how if you work really hard at it, as players, if you give everything you got, and you can achieve a lot more than the parts. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So, I think we beat Boston College one time 49-7, and we were 26-point underdogs. And I think that's hard to do somewhere else. Mm-hmm. I really do. But our kids just played so hard and were so relentless in what they did. And it's the same thing what we've turned around and done here now again. But I spent an unbelievable amount of time doing football and really learning, I think, the game. And then when I left there after 8 years, I went and I worked at Lafayette College in the Patriot League as a defensive coordinator. And I think the thing there I think that I learned was, I mean, I did a lot of different things. I got to try out and do what is second time as a coordinator. I got to do what I wanted to do, and made mistakes. Obviously, tried to learn from those mistakes, and we were number one in defense in the country at one point, so we were always pretty good. So it was, but that was a great experience because I did that for 14 years. Coach secondary, coach linebackers, whatever the other guy wasn't going to coach, and I think I learned a lot more. But I really developed being, learning to be a coordinator again, doing all that, and then came back here again. So I've been here for 4 full seasons with Coach Monk, and I think the thing I've learned here is, Jay Bateman, our defensive coordinator, is extremely smart. He's really sharp. We have a better staff here than we had the first time, and again, we had 6 Super Bowl rings come out of there. So, I've learned a lot, I think, and if I get a chance to be a coordinator again, it'll make me better. But I've also learned, I think the most here probably has been Coach Monken's relentlessness, his ability to be relentless on the little things and developing relationships with the kids. Just getting them, because they're going to play harder if you really get to know them, if you show them you care and you do all those things. And I think that's where we're doing a great job right now. I mean, we're working really hard in recruiting, getting different kids. We won 18 games in 2 years here. And that's a lot at Army West Point. So, we've in the last 2 years we beat Temple twice, we've won our bowl game twice, we beat Navy twice, we beat an ACC team twice. So we are, we're definitely getting better. But I don't think it's just the X and O part. I think we have a high standard. We demand a standard. We get to know the kids. I know they know that we care about them, and because of that, we're playing really well. So.
And obviously, as a college coach, that relationship part starts well before they step on campus. It's something that you're developing, obviously, in the recruiting process. And, we can look at all the neat things we have today that have added to recruiting and all the social media and all those things. But still at the heart of it, what it's going to boil down to is not, the fancy uniforms that someone's putting on or the facilities they have. They're going to make a decision because they feel good about you and the coaching staff as people, and they feel that you guys are connecting with them. What would you say is the number one thing you guys do to build those relationships? And obviously, it doesn't end when they get there either. You continue to build that and sustain those and grow those as they go through your program.
I think the big thing is honesty. Just being honest with the kids. If they don't, and honest with the parents. I really pride myself on that. I've worked hard over a 30-something year period to, have a reputation that I'll tell you what I think it is. It might not be what you think it is, but I'll tell you what I think it is. So I'm honest with coaches. So when I tell them that, hey, we got somebody that we like better, I don't know if they always agree, but they like the honesty part. So then when they have a kid and then I know which coaches, and I hope all of them, but I know which coaches to really trust, because they're being honest with me too. So when they say they got a guy, they got a guy from a recruiting standpoint. Mm-hmm. But also just being honest with the parents, telling them that, for West Point, for one, it's not always going to be easy here, and I tell that to them all the time. I don't. There's other academies out there that I think they push that, hey, it's going to be easy. It's going to be easy. It's going to be easy. Well, I don't want a kid that thinks it's just going to come here because it's going to be easy. It's hard, and should be. We're defending, we're defending our rights as American people to, defend our country. So I hope it's not easy when they get here. So I think, just being honest with kids and then keep doing a great job of having relationships with the parents, during the recruiting process, walking them through the whole thing. And then when they get here, I coach the safeties right now. The safeties are coming over to my house tomorrow night. So, right after practice for dinner. So just, showing them again that you care, you want to know about what they're doing in their lives and, not just football. And, I think that's the big thing. And, we got a spring game coming up on Friday night, and we have honorary captains coming back. And I'm really excited to see those guys. And a lot of them, they've done a good job keeping in touch with me, and I try to, as best I can, keep in touch with them. And, some of those guys I coached 25 years ago here. Mm-hmm. So again, those relationships aren't just when they're up here. I think a lot of them last forever.
Right.
So,
Coach, on the X's and O's side, you guys face the type of offense that makes every other coordinator in the nation cringe the week they have to face it. You're doing it every day, and what's it like to go out there and have to defend option and those kinds of things, every single day during camp, and then maybe go out and have to defend somebody who's doing things different from your perspective, from the opposite perspective. What's that like for you?
You know what? Jay Bateman, our DC, does a great job of setting up where we work on the pass game a lot, to get ready for our opponents, because, we can beat a team and they might have more completions in one game than we'll have the entire year. So, we completed 20 passes last year, 20-something, and won 10 games. So I think it's not always easy to prepare for all the teams that throw it all over the yard and are different when you're facing the kind of team that we are, but, in practice. But at the same time, I think I'd rather have it that way than the other way, in that, our biggest games are Air Force and Navy, and last year, we won 14-13 against Navy, and we won 21-0 against Air Force. So we give up really, one touchdown in 2 games against the Academy. So I think it prepares us. And the other thing is it makes us tough, and we're physically tough. So it's easier to, I think, go back and do the conventional offenses and the things that you're facing now than it would be to face a conventional offense all the time and then try to defend us, and us try to defend Air Force and Navy. So I do. I think it makes our kids tougher, and there's more carryover than you think from a schematic standpoint. I mean, football's football,
right?
So, I think it's easier to face the conventional offense when you have to defend what we have to every day than it would be the other way around. So I'm excited about that part. It's work. I think it's a little bit more work in practice. It was definitely a lot easier at Lafayette College, and that's the only time I haven't been an option team or been associated with one. So I think it was a lot easier at Lafayette College to do practice because the offense could simulate what you were facing, and
right.
On defense you can simulate everything if you're pretty multiple. We are.
Coach, I know kind of a feather in your cap. You helped obviously in coaching the secondary. You guys a few years ago only had 6 interceptions. You guys boosted that to 17, and at the time, that year, I think it was 2016, number 6 ranked pass defense in the country. So you make that point. You completed 20-some passes as your own team, yet you guys are going out and really defending the pass. What kind of things, in terms of, I guess the team is facing a traditional offense more in camp and preseason, spring, and those things. Are there any adjustments that you guys have to make in practice to be able to get those done and be able to have that kind of effectiveness on game day?
Yeah, one of the things we do that's I think is really good is, there's a lot of disadvantages coaching here. Now, our kids are going through the academic grind that I don't think you're going to very many places. I mean, it's hard. It's hard academically. And then, the military isn't as big a deal as you think it is from a day-to-day standpoint. Most of that training's in the summer. But it's just, they're tired. It's a grind. So, but one of the things we have advantage-wise is we can have more players because everyone here is full scholarship. So we can have 2 huddles coming at us. So one huddle can be virtually run and some play action where it's 11 on 11, and the other huddle can be more where it's just on garbage cans and we're working on all the pass stuff. So we're getting the drop back stuff, and we can get off more reps than you could. Like at Lafayette College, we could see the passes, but we never could simulate the speed of the reps. We can get more reps here because we have more bodies to work against.
Right. Interesting.
So that's what helps us.
Yeah.
Coach,
with a safety, and obviously, at West Point, you guys certainly have all the other criteria that goes into them getting into the school, into the institution first. But what kind of things are you looking for in the guys you bring in to play secondary for you?
I think one of the big things is they have to love football. They really do. It's hard to play major college football. It is. It's hard. We get them 4 hours a day, and 4 hours isn't 4 hours. 4 hours is from the first meeting to when you walk off the practice field. So that's 4 hours. Somewhere in there they need to tape, and they need to do other things. They need to get up here. They need to do all those things. So if you don't love football, you're not going to keep playing because everyone here is full scholarship. So to me, that's important. I want somebody, and obviously they have to have the skill set. Mm-hmm. I'd rather, from a safety standpoint, I'd rather have a big corner, if I could, that looks like he can cover and do things that is going to be big enough to be a safety someday. So I'm a big fan of taking a few more corners, and the guys that, hey, they're not a corner, maybe they'll be a safety. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of times the big safety ends up being an outside linebacker. Everybody moves closer to the middle or closer to the ball, right? So, but I want guys that are athletic and can run. They got to love football. And I really want guys that are smart, too. I really do. Because the safeties are the quarterbacks of the defense. Mm-hmm. And if you're a hard learner and you have a hard time, then you're going to have a hard time, in our system. You really are. We're not a really simple, we're just going to play quarters every down where you can just teach them, okay, this is what we're going to do. So, there's enough stuff that's checking, and we have to. We got to get out in front of it. We have to use our advantages here, and one of them is we're smart. We should be, right? Right. So, it's West Point. So, I want to find safeties that football, I think the football part comes easy, and they really like it. So, and we have some of those guys. And they're not always as big or as fast as we want, but they're really smart and they can make up for it, Obviously, I want the same guy that I recruit Pennsylvania as my number one spot. I want the same guy Penn State does. Right. But, in reality, I'm probably not going to beat them in recruiting. So I need to, you need to find that guy. He might be a couple inches shorter, he might be a little bit slower, but he might be really smart, and he might love football way more. So that's what I'm trying to find. You know what I mean? Yep. So that's what I'm trying to find.
Coach, I talked to former defensive coordinator at SMU, Van Malone, the other day, and we were talking about RPOs and, his view on how, you defend those best. And he emphasized the responsibility, the accountability you have to put on the back end to really do that effectively, that you can't let the offense always dictate that, your linebackers, your level 2 guys are going to be those stress players, that you have to take some of the stress off by letting the back end guys get involved. How much of that, philosophy, or what is your philosophy, I guess, on defending the RPO, and how much do your guys need to be involved in that?
They have to be involved in a lot of it. So I think you have to get the secondary involved or you're not going to be able to take care of it. So the RPO, watching it on defense, I'm really excited, I guess, if I'm ever a head coach, about some of the RPO concepts. I think some are easier than others. I think some are better than others, obviously, that I watch. But I do. I think the RPO is, for the most part, is designed to attack the too high quarters type stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think I try to talk to as many offensive guys as I can. I think that's what you should do on defense. So the guys that I know who run RPOs, I don't think any of them, if you can match up really well, have very good answers for one high. Mm-hmm. Especially if you have the ability to flat foot a one high safety. I think it's hard. So, we played some of the teams and they did RPOs, and we had the ability to match up a little bit better and lock them down. And you can do the same thing with different pressures. But, we're going to attack the RPOs and tell the kids where the ball should go and utilize their secondary without getting very specific. But right. I think when I know this, when we were able to match up a little bit better and do those things, we did a really good job defending the RPOs. When we played Ohio State, that had, a different animal from a bunch of 4-star football players, a lot of times it was matched up perfectly, but the quarterback makes you miss, or receiver makes you miss, so it was just harder. Right. But So it still comes down to matchups, but that's what I think about the RPO stuff. I think it's really good. I think you can practice it like an RPO team does. Mm-hmm. I've seen RPO teams, talk about practicing, and they have 3 quarterbacks back there. One of them is running the run play, and one of them is throwing it to the boundary, and one of them is throwing it to the field. So I think you can break up your practice. I don't know about all 3, but I do. I think you can have your defense. One part of it's defending the pass play, and one part's defending the run. So you could get in the whole practice, but you have to defend the entire play. To me, is what you have to do.
Much like obviously defending the stuff that your offense does, some of that triple option, same kind of thing. That you got to be very sound in playing your responsibility.
It's a great point. Most of the passes is just the pitch phase of the triple. Right. So you're exactly right. And again, sometimes it's the other way around. Sometimes you're flaring a guy out, and you throw that ball right now, and if not, it's the quarterback draws. I mean, the quarterback powers, the quarterback counters. I think they're tough to defend just from a math standpoint, because some of them with the quarterback runs, because anytime obviously a quarterback carries it, he's got 10 blockers. So, that's why you have to get everybody involved from a math standpoint. If you just have one safety and he's just pedaling all the time, and they get them all blocked up, or they're covering the routes, that's the beauty of the RPO. You don't have to block them all. Mm-hmm. Somebody has to go out there and play the bubble or the hitches or whatever their part of the RPO is. So I think it's great stuff. I really do, and it's not going away.
No, you mentioned you do study and talk to a lot of offensive guys, and you have some things you'd really like to do. What's your favorite RPO from an offensive perspective right now?
You know what? There's a few of them, but I think one of them that I really like is a little 3x1 where they run the stick game out of 2 and 3, run 1 on the vertical, and if the throw's not there right now, that they can run the quarterback, I guess the quarterback draw with the fold play,
right.
Or flaring out the back and throw it to him right now if it's there, and if not, same thing, running a quarterback counter or a quarterback play. I think those are pretty simple. I don't think they're very hard, but I think they're pretty good.
Yeah.
So
that's always been my favorite too. Just from a practice perspective, when the mesh point is taken out. So my first venture into the RPO world was with quarterback draw and stick. And, there were a lot of teams at that time were running the draw to the running back and the stick. And I felt like, number one, if I took that running back phase out, I didn't have to practice the mesh in that, which I think can get pretty sticky with the timing. Also, it gave my quarterback just that extra split second to read it, to move a guy, and then to follow his guy up through the hole. So I think the running back stuff is great, but then now you think about the quarterback, and again, like you said, he's got 10 blockers when he becomes a runner. Those become really tough to defend if you have a guy to run.
Yeah, no question. I totally agree. I wouldn't, you want to get your quarterback hurt,
right?
But at the same time, I don't. If I ever do have the chance to be a head football coach, there's no way I'm going to recruit in the college football game a quarterback that isn't mobile. There's just no way. I just don't. I think if your quarterback, I know why you have to do it in the National Football League. You pay that guy too much money and he'll get killed. Mm-hmm. But in the college football game, and I think you have to pick your spots. I really do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think if you're playing with 10 guys. I mean, the bottom line is every time you hand it to the tailback, there's an unblocked guy in a one-high defense.
Right.
So when the quarterback has it, they're all blocked. So, now you got to play zero coverage or, one high with a safety who can play stop defense, where he can go get it. Mm-hmm. But, again, that puts stress on him too because of the passing game.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, you obviously are involved in more things off the field, still with football, but you and your wife, Marianne, started Lawrence First and Goal Foundation in 2004 to raise money for pediatric brain tumor research. The foundation's generated more than $2 million now and it is, one of the biggest one-day football clinic camps in the country. I know you get a ton of participation from the college football coaches out there. Talk to us a little bit first about your reason and the passion you have and why you and your wife founded that.
Well, I really appreciate you doing all your research. I mean, you got it knocked out pretty good. You know what? We had gone to Ride for Kids when Lauren was really little, and Lauren's 21 years old now. And we had gone to Ride for Kids, which is a great organization, raises money for Pediatric Brain Tumor Foundation of the U.S. And they have motorcycle rallies and people raise money. So we had, and there's about 52 of them there was last time I checked, but around the country. So we had gone to those and used Lauren kind of as a little spokesmodel. There'd be a couple kids there that were fighting brain tumors at some point. And I remember going to it and just think, man, I wish there was something else I could do other than just show up at these rallies. So I went to a couple of them. And then I worked the Michigan football camp one year. Must have been right before the 04. It was the 03 summer, I think. And I just remember being up there, and there's about 1,500 kids. And there's about 160 coaches and a lot of more high school coaches. And I just remember thinking to myself on Wednesday, because it was a week-long camp or probably 5 days, I remember thinking to myself, you know what, I bet I could do this. I could do this for one day, have a one-day camp, raise money for brain tumor research and cancer services. And, I talked my wife into, trying to pull it off. And the first year in 05, we had 56 coaches, and I knew every one of them. Mm-hmm. And the guy I worked for, didn't really think we'd be able to pull it off. I don't think he realized what it was going to become, and I just remember thinking, I think it's going to be bigger than you think. And we had 325 high school kids the first year, roughly. And so we raised about $20,000, I think, and we gave it to the Pediatric Brain Tumor Foundation of the U.S., the motorcycle rally. And then we were trying to set up a foundation, got some lawyers involved that would handle a lot of the paperwork and set up a 501c3 foundation, which is Lauren's First and Goal Foundation. So, that was before I don't believe that there was a single one-day camp in the country. Mm-hmm. I don't remember there being any. Because I remember kids coming to Michigan, and I worked Ohio State, and I worked a couple of camps where the kids would show up for one day, just, hey, we're going to work them out. But the majority of the kids were all there for 5 days. Mm-hmm. And anyway, so the first year, that's what it was. And then the next year, we had probably close to 100 coaches, and we had 700 kids. So it literally had doubled. And then we had about 1,000 the next year, and luckily it wasn't too big in the beginning, so we were able to manage it. And then I think about the fourth year, Phil Sims was our speaker, and we put up a big road sign, and spent a little bit of money, and actually advertised it. And I think we had at least 1,500 kids. So. And every year since, we've had a college football coach has volunteered to speak. I mean, it's been Urban Meyer a couple times in Ohio, and Billy O'Brien and James Franklin, and then the list goes on and on. Our head football coach here did a great job, Jeff Munkin. So, we have college football coaches I think want to do it, and I think they understand that they're giving back, but they also understand, there's been between 1,700 and 2,000 kids from 17 states and Canada there. So, and, people hear those numbers and they think, man, how are you going to manage it? That's the first thing Billy said to me when he showed up, Billy O'Brien. Mm-hmm. He said, how are you doing it? And, well, we have 350 college coaches show up now. So, each field has a position going. So it really has, it's worked out well for us. And we raised over $2 million. It all goes to brain tumor research, pediatric brain tumor research, and cancer services, so it helps kids in need. And we have never taken a nickel, for our family. Nobody gets paid. Everyone volunteers, right. Everyone. So it all truly goes back. I'm always doing this every time I talk to anybody. We're always trying to get sponsorship. the ROTC and the Army ROTC is coming this year, but and we're really excited about that. I've had outside people give us money, so we're looking, because the camp is really the vehicle to raise awareness.
Right.
And we charge $40 up until April 1st because that's an early bird special. Then it's $60, and by May 6th it's going to go up to $80. And then because we had so many walk-ons one year, because kids just want to show up, that it's $100 cash the day of, which it's worth a lot more than that.
Sure.
It really is. I mean, last year we had 10 FBS staffs represented, and a lot of them were full staffs. We had 32 FCS staffs. So, that's 42 Division I staffs that were at this camp. So, I think everybody wins in that they're getting coached. It's not a combine. We're not height. There's no height. There's no weight. There's no 40-yard dash. We split them up into small groups, and we put them through drills, and we rotate them through those drills. So the kids are getting seen by coaches. They're getting coached by college coaches, and they're getting their names out there, and the coaches are seeing kids, and all the money's going toward brain tumor research cancer services. So everybody wins on every end. Now there's so many one-day camps. Oh, yeah. There's so many of them that it's harder a little bit to compete. But my thing is, I don't know of any other one-day camp where the money's going to a charity. So it's not. So I think that's where it's different, and the number of college coaches. So we're optimistic. We'll just keep on rolling. But we're always looking very hard for someone to sponsor the camp. I have hit up multiple sneaker and drink companies, the ones that and see on TV every day, and have not been successful yet. So I'm really, if anybody out there is going to listening to this, and that, or just you have a lot of money and you have to put it somewhere, we're looking for those people. So I'm, trying, because the real money, again, would come from outside donations. And that's what we're really trying to get done. So I'm looking for that sponsorship or just those donors, because it's going to go to a good place once it's done.
Absolutely. Coach, I think it speaks a lot about our profession that right now you have over 350 coaches showing up and working this camp. You started out at 56. And I know, doing as a college coach, small college coach, doing the one-day circuits and going around and, going to all these, college camps that are one-day camps and evaluation camps. And not to say that this isn't with all those eyeballs there. There's a different spirit to this one, I think, just a different feel to it. I guess I'd ask you to kind of describe that. And to you, what is that like compared to, you've been to those other one-day camps. What's the comparison to you, and what's the difference? And what do you feel this says about the guys out there, in our profession, just willing to come and give their time?
I think it says a lot. I think our and this, our profession is under attack because the media is only going to cover the bad stuff. We're only going to talk about concussions, and we're only going to talk about when one person makes a mistake. When a player makes a mistake, it's easy for Fox News or CNN say that this is all football players and generalize, and it it makes you angry as a football coach. But at the same time, when 350 college coaches get together to really support a cause and help people, you can't get that you have a hard time getting that in the local newspaper sometimes. So it's kind of frustrating, but it just says what kind of great people there are in this profession, and as there really are. I think the people that come, there's certain guys have told me, I came just for the recruiting the first time, and maybe the second time, and I think a lot of them, not all, but I think a lot of them have figured out that, hey, you know what, I'm doing something great here. They meet Lauren, they meet other kids with that are there that have a brain tumor. We've had a couple campers that had brain tumors either before or after they came to the camp. I mean, that's how widespread. We all know someone with cancer. Mm-hmm. It might not be a brain tumor, but we know someone with cancer. Every one of us does. So I think they do. They look at it and they say, you know what, I'm doing something really good. I'm spending another day away from my family, which is hard, and I'm not getting paid to do it, but I'm, in my small way, I'm making a difference. And I think that's why we keep I think that's why we keep doing it, because it's a lot of work, especially for my wife and, some of the people that are involved. And, but you do it because I think each year you think, man, that was a lot of work. And then you think, well, yeah, but look at all the good that we did do, because they're making some progress in the research and they're doing those things. So, I hope it keeps going. And I appreciate you having me on, because I think like I said, somebody's going to listen to this that maybe they'll say, man, that's a great thing. I am going to donate, or I'm going to volunteer, or I'm going to, I'm going to reach out to somebody I know who can donate, or, reach out into Sneaker Company X that, maybe Coach Luce has been trying for 10 years to get to just look at it, and I can't, so maybe they have a contact, so you're trying to do those things. But yeah, I think it says a lot about the profession, to answer your question. I really do. And here's the other thing that's pretty neat about it, is that there's a number of coaches who went to the camp as high schoolers now. Wow. That come back and volunteer. It's happening more and more because this is their 15th year. And, from a Lafayette College standpoint, here's the other thing. There's a bunch of kids that came to that camp as a high school kid. We recruited them. They came to Lafayette College. They volunteered at Lafayette College when they're there. Now they're out making real money in the private sector, and they are giving back with either their time, money, or both. So, that's what happens. And, here's the other thing, too, is there's been never as many as I'd like, but there's been a number of kids that get it, and they'll do a fundraiser on their own and give us the money after they go to the camp as a high school kid. So, again, it's that, we say it on our website, that circle of strength that, you figure out, like, this is a really good deal. I'm going to go out and I'm going to do a car wash, or I'm going to do some kind of fundraiser, and I'm going to give the money to Lawrence First and Goal because I know they're going to put it in a good spot.
And, for anybody interested out there in getting involved with your, the college coach who listens to this podcast and would like to volunteer your time, or you're a high school coach who would like to get your players to this, you go to lawrencefirstandgoal.org. You get all the information there. The camp this year is Sunday, June 3rd. It's at Lafayette College's Metzger Athletic Complex in Pennsylvania. I think it's a great opportunity. It's a great cause to support. John, you're doing a lot of great things with this. I really appreciate you taking time on the podcast today, Coach. For our coaches out there, our listeners out there who are interested in contacting you, maybe even talking a little ball with you, what's the best way for them to connect?
Probably to email me. I think at this point it's john.luce@usma.edu. So it's USMA for United States Military Academy.edu. And if somebody's really interested, that's probably the best way. But john.luce@usma.edu, and they can follow us on Twitter. I'm always trying to get more followers on that standpoint, because I think when kids and coaches, if they'll give it to their kids, if they'll give the flyer out to their kids will come. There'll be kids on their team that will come. We have kids come as far away as Texas and Florida, to go to Lafayette College in Easton, Pennsylvania, which is right on the Pennsylvania-New Jersey border. So I think, they can follow us. The Twitter is at LFG Football Camp, and that's how we get a lot of our information out. So I'm trying to get people to retweet and tweet out what we do. Because I know we get a lot of kids at the camp, but people don't realize how hard we have to work to get those kids every year, because more than half will be rising seniors that graduate. So we got to keep working it. They don't just show up. So anything people can do to help us out, would gladly take it, and love to have college coaches. You're welcome, obviously. I think it really changes your. I think it just shows you how lucky you are, because these kids they didn't do something wrong. They just kind of they had something there that caused the brain tumor. So it's not like we're in our 50s or 60s and they mistreated their body their whole life, and did some things. So these kids deserve a chance. So we're trying to help them.
Coach, I really appreciate all you're doing. We'll put all your contact information, your Twitter, a link to lawrencefirstandgoal.org, all in our show notes. So, coaches, if there's something in there that interests you, you'd like to get that out to your players, please refer to the links in the show notes. And Coach, I really appreciate all you're doing. I appreciate you taking the time to be on the podcast, especially here during spring ball. I know it's a busy time, but you're doing great things out there, and thank you from all of us in the profession.
Hey, thank you, Keith, for having me. I really appreciate it. It was fun, and like I said, I'm looking forward to June 3rd.
Thank you again for listening to the Coaching Coordinator Podcast. Please, if you are enjoying the podcast, head over to iTunes or Spotify and click 5-star for rate. If you have a minute, write a review. It really helps the podcast. Check out our new home for the Coaching Coordinator Podcast. That's at coachandcoordinator.com. And follow me on Twitter at Coach K. Grabowski.